And yes, we are back in the hub.
We're back.
Ready to rock and roll.
Back. It is
Crushing
January
Iron
5th.
Podcast.
That's right, folks. January 5th, 2022.
It's good to hear that music.
It is. This is the Crushing Iron Podcast, and we are episode 544. I'll warn you now before I do our intro. Buckle up today, folks. Either buckle up or have a seat or pen and paper. Take your kids out of the room. Settle up. It's going to be a wild ride today, but we hope you are. Hope you're having a great start to the new year. I am. I'm pretty excited about the year in general. Yeah. Seem to be like one of the very few people that is, but I'm pretty pumped. I'm mostly pumped to be back in the studio, in the hub with you, and I'm also equally as pumped to have sent my kid off to school this morning. I was the sixth parent in line for the kindergarten, and I was aiming to be first, and I couldn't wait to see him. As I always say, listen, buddy, I'm just as excited to drop you off as I am to pick you up. And that was the case for the last, 2.5 weeks. He was at home, and we were basically tired of each other at this point.
Oh.
Yeah, he was getting to be that. I mean, we spent our last kind of solid day yesterday. Like he threw me a bunch of like whatevers, and I was like, oh, come on, dude. I was like, went to the aquarium yesterday, the Children's Museum here in Chattanooga, and he started like, we've been hanging around us so much, he was starting to like repeat like usual phrases that I say. And I said, what do you think? I said, it's a maybe. I said, what do you mean maybe? He said, well, you know what maybe is. And I said, I don't mean yes. I don't mean no. I mean maybe. And I was like, where have you heard that from? He was like, you. And I was like, God. I was like, you're just paying attention to way too much.
Whoa.
Yeah. But it's
everybody
good.
needs a little break from each other.
Everybody. That is the truth. Everyone needs a little break. We hope you all enjoyed your break as we get rocking and rolling through the start of the year. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. So we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run detailed podcasts. We do race recaps. We do race previews. Have on a guest about once a year. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through personally as athletes, as humans, as coaches. We work with and our athletes as well. We work with a wide range of athletes across the globe that do custom coaching, that are also in our club. From beginner level athletes to high elite level amateurs and everyone in between. So we'll take the vibe from Training Peak comments, text messages, correspondence, emails, all of the like, and use that to kind of drive the discussion of the day, which is kind of where I'm going to go today a little bit. And just some general observations. And then we'll also go into our Facebook group, which is Crushing Iron Group. If you want to be a part of that conversation, answer one simple question, and we'll let you right in. Apparently we made it big. In the apparel market, we had a spammer in there this morning trying to sell one of our shirts. It was quickly deleted, but yeah, we had like some random, obviously like a spammer or a bot like come in that posted one of our shirts and a link to like purchase shirts.
In Facebook group?
In our own Facebook group, yeah, we made it.
Nice job.
Yeah,
guys.
we also need to probably lock down whoever's at allowing entry into that, and maybe do a little due diligence to Namadabab Sushibasham from, some unknown country who's been a part of Facebook for 1 hour, probably not needing to gain any entry.
Who is that, me?
Yeah, no. There's a lot of awesome.
Am I the guard?
We have quite a few gatekeepers, but yeah, there's always an awesome conversation going there. Sometimes we'll go in and do a Q&A in there, but for the most part, we just kind of sit back, relax, and have an open, honest discussion, and hopefully you can take something, apply it from us too. We are not professionals. We are not experts. We've been around the block, and we have seen it, most of it, not all of it, but a lot of it, and had our share of successes and pitfalls, and overcome quite a few obstacles, but also had a lot of success personally, athletically, and also with our athletes. So if we can share that and allow you to have a more happy and healthy endurance sports journey, all the while we don't shove, ads and sponsors down your throat, then that is the goal of today's cast. Well, all the cast, but definitely today's cast.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, man. I got to say that there are options where you can buy out of ads and stuff, but there's a lot of ads. And it's starting to get, it's weird how it gets on your nerves. And that used to be my business, was making ads. Mm-hmm. And now I'm just like, okay, I feel like this is the next phase of our life that, advertising is going to get stale on a lot of people. Because I was out in front of, I was always into it my whole life. And I'm getting a sense that ads are kind of, I don't know, there's going to have to be a new system, because I think it's a brainwashing system anyway that we need to get rid of. But That's just my personal opinion.
Like sometimes I see commercials and I'm like, you don't even need a commercial. Right. You know, like standard things like Cheerios. Why you don't need Cheerios commercials anymore? Like people just know Cheerios. You walk down the aisle, you're like, boom, Honey Nut Cheerios, bam. Like, why do you need Coke commercials? Like, you know, why do you need those anymore?
Well, I look at that as
retention.
Well, that's a huge part of it. They just want to keep out there. But when I see ads like, you know, for companies that have been around forever, it's like in my mind, they just have too much money. Something's got to give there because they're just wasting money basically on stuff like that is just more and more just kind of, you know, taking you down this little hole and you're going to be a fan of ours forever. We're never going away. And it's like they probably got more money than, you know, God in the bank. And they're just wasting it on stupid ads.
That's actually a good point. I mean, there's some people like they have just like stuff they've just got to do.
Let it speaking of ads, I want to throw out an advertisement for our club.
Okay, I thought you were going to maybe do an avocado mattress or something.
No, I got nothing. But I just want to throw that it is January. We're going to cut off the club in December, but you know, people are kind of getting some people are getting their mojo back.
Yeah, some, not all.
A lot of people, you know, you probably have a race on the calendar, want to do something, and if you want some guidance and connection to a community and a really, you know, sweet deal, go check out the club program under coaching at c26triathlon.com. There's still some time to sign up for that. We had a lot of people come in there, and I'm getting on top of it. You know, some of you, if I haven't gotten to you yet, and you came in the last couple of days, I'm coming. Don't worry about it.
He's coming.
We'll get it straightened out. We'll get in our groove together, and it's going to be a great year, I think.
It's going to be an awesome year. Last year was a good year. The year, listen, all right.
Wait a minute.
No, you got something else to say? Because I've been jonesing for this for the past 90 minutes.
No. Yeah, when you text me this morning, you're like, all right, buddy, buckle up.
Yeah, I said,
I said, all right. I'll just kick back again.
Kick back, relax.
But I think I probably would have some things to add to what you're talking about.
You do.
Too,
and
listen. I feel it big time.
I'm a lover. Okay, I'm
a fighter.
I'm not a raw.
You're a fighter too.
I am. I'm very much that.
Can we be lovers and fighters?
You can be both, right? And that's
you should.
You can be relentless and also at the same time compassionate. And I've had like a bunch of conversations. Had one with my sister a couple weeks ago about, she's a therapist, and she's was talking about, you know, like, what's it called, like compassion. People are just kind of losing their wit with like their patience with compassion, like giving everyone compassion about certain compassion fatigue is what she called it. It was just so much compassion all the time for so many things. And if you got kids and you listen to this in the van or the Suburban or the, you know, whatever it is, it's time, save it for later. Okay. Save this one for later. Because it's probably going to be an explicit lyric podcast, and this might get us some negative reviews, and honestly, I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, for the most part, this is a very holistic podcast. We generally have, we're very much not about just about triathlon, not about PRs, or about you. We are about, you know, the whole person, what you're able to accomplish, how you're doing mentally, physically, emotionally, you know, sometimes even spiritually. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be happy. We want you to be successful in triathlon and in life and all at the same time. But at some point, and I'm just going to say it like it is, at some point, we need to toughen the fuck up, okay? Sorry about the F-bomb, but I'm not. I'm already saying it, is the woe is me, prisoner of the moment. The first 5 days of January haven't really gone the way that we think that it needed to go, because last year was rough, and here we go, 2022. I need to reassess my whole year because this might happen or this could happen, so I might need to rearrange. Can we just stop it? Can we just stop it with the prisoner of the moment, like action that is, because a few days might not have gone the way you wanted them to go. We're now writing off the whole year. And I get it. Like, it's, you know, it's funny in memes, like, oh, you know, 2021 leaves and here's 2022, just like, you know, hold my beer, watch this. I'm like, I get it. But at some point, can we stop complaining? Like, can we just generally stop the negativity and the complaining about everything in life? Because you know what? No, it doesn't do anything for anyone else. Like the nonsense on Facebook and social media that has anything to do with negativity or complaining about, no matter what it is, it's frankly, it's falling on deaf ears except for you. You're the one that's consuming it. You're the one that's being negative. It's just time for us to honestly become more resilient in all things in life and just learn to stay the course, one, and then two, not panic. Just stay the course, especially 5 days into the year, right? People are already asking questions about what race might get canceled, or do I need to prep for this, or I think I need to reassess my entire year. I'm like, homie, dude, we are 5 days in to the year. Like, we are 5 days in. For all we know, this generally, it seriously could be the greatest year of your life. But if you are consistently writing things off because you are just, and I referenced this with you before we got on, it's kind of become more of it's like doormat syndrome, where people just, and we talked about this before, and it was in the weekly email I had to kind of kick off January, is like, listen, life is not so much about what happens around you and what happens to you. It's how you react to it. And you can choose to kind of take the bull by the horns, kick in the balls and keep moving, or you can let it stampede and run you over. Like, you really just have two choices. And you can be paralyzed in fear, you can be paralyzed with anxiety, or the what ifs, or the assumptions that you might make of what might happen in May or what might happen in October. But the fact of the matter is, dude, you have no idea. The best thing you can do is stay the course. That is in life, that is in business, that is in relationships, and that is with racing and training. Is if you have a plan, and you had one 6 days ago, guess what? Stick to it. Unless you've had some reawakening that you just generally don't want to do an event because the time constraints that it might have, or you have a different reason or a different why. I'm all for that, right? I'm all for a change in path and a change in direction for racing if it's something that really hits home with you, like in your heart, that's meaningful. Not because one bad thing happened, or you make an assumption that all things need to kind of just be reimagined. Can we just stop it with that? And it's becoming, in all facets in life, it's becoming this. Just it's like we're not adults anymore. I don't know when we happen. Like, stay the course, no matter what. We're always going to have reasons to say no, or to opt out, or to not do anything, or to sit on our ass and just kind of write off, or maybe next year, or maybe this, and woe is me. And I mentioned this a few times, I think in the last podcast, and even in my weekly emails, like, don't live in a problem that doesn't exist. Well, most people, they set up shop. They get like HGTV to build like their dream home in this thing that doesn't exist. And that's where they choose to live, in a problem that doesn't exist for them. Could things get bad? Sure. But when I first got sober, one of the very first meetings I had with my sponsor, I was talking about all these things I was worried about, all these things I was stressed about that might happen. And he looked at me in the eye. His name's I can't tell his whole name, but his name was George, and he was like 73. And he looked at me. We were sitting adults in this old time. Adults is like old timey in Nashville. And he looked at me and he said, "Robbie, is there anything wrong in your life right now? Is there anything wrong this very second?" And I said, "No." He said, "Then relax." He said, "Because nothing can happen, or everything can happen, but you're not going to know, and none of it's affecting the lunch that we're having right now. All it's going to do is take your mind down these negative paths, and all of a sudden you could go 6, 8, 12 months later and figure out that, guess what? It never did happen. So what did you do the last 6 to 8 to 12 months besides panic, worry, and increase your anxiety because of an assumption," right? And that we discussed this when we decided to try and open up a triathlon training facility in the smack dab in the middle of the pandemic, when all the races were shut down. People were like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
That's the dumbest thing you could do. We had plenty of chances to opt out. We even had conversations about it. And they're like, "You know what? No, we're going to stay the course. We stay the course and do your own thing because it's what we want." So can we just stop? Take a minute, take a breath, relax. It's January 5th. January 5th. It is not December 30th, 2022, where we've had the worst year. It's January 5th, okay? Buckle up, and just, honestly, we need to be more resilient as individuals. Like, when I started this, when the pandemic first started, and AA, I'm going to let you talk in a minute, I'm sorry. But you're going to drift off, because I can tell you're kind of chomping at the bit here, is that I had this belief that the removal of going to AA and like going to Zooms and stuff like that was going to have it has had a really, really negative effect on going to meetings and the kind of the alcohol, drug recovery community in general, because community is everything. And while it hasn't had a lot of benefits, what they have shown through relapse and suicide is what it's also done is it dropped. Suicide's dropped in terms of they got better because for the most part, most people, a lot of people, not all, have chosen in this last 2 years instead of to become doormats, have chosen to become resilient. And they have found something kind of like you're forced to be resilient or something, or things are going to go really, really, really bad. We just need to be more resilient and just move forward unapologetically with force and just take, like I said before, I even made this comment in someone's Training Peaks Smart. I said, don't be run over, take the bull by the horns, kick in the balls, and let's get moving. Like, let's just get moving. You have your goal, you have your, whatever it is you want to accomplish this year, whether it's business, professional, or races, get it done. No matter what, cancel the noise, stop complaining, stop being so damn negative, and just rock and roll.
Rock and roll, man. Well, wait, so much there, man.
I know.
You know,
it's a lot to
unpack. But here's the thing, right? And we talk about, I feel like we more and more live in what they call an echo chamber, where, you know, it's easy to get in our heads, our own heads about something and like plant seeds, like you're saying about something's going to come down the pike. And then I feel like we subconsciously almost seek it out. And there's always, you can always find it on social media or on the web or whatever. And it's there. And, you know, there's this thing out there they're talking about, like, there's a buzzword out there, mass psychosis right now. And I feel like the last couple of years has put us all into this weird phase. And, you know, we keep looking outward when we need to be looking in the mirror, you know. And that's the way, I mean, it happens to me. I'm not saying I'm immune to it. It's very difficult to kind of get away from sometimes. But really, you know, and I, you know, look, I always preach this live in the moment, meditations and stuff and crap. And I'm always about that. But it's hard. But it's really what you need to do. And that's the neighbor out there. And
peeking in on us.
Yeah, but so you're right though, man. It's like it's so easy to kind of get sucked down a trap and then just sort of like keep pouring gas on our negative compassion syndrome fires. And you know, when I was talking about advertising, it's like it's so funny because I feel like I look at things as a trend sometimes because I was in the advertising business, and then when I got out of it, I was like, marketing is like, you know, so mainstream. When I go to these, you know, I was legit marketing director at a big corporation back in the day. And I would go to these business after hours when the internet was like a big thing. And all of a sudden everybody would hand me cards and they all said marketing director for CMV, RRJ company or whatever. I'd be like, what the hell do you do? Well, I'm a social media marketer. Well, they just put this stuff out, right? And then what naturally happens, like everybody starts doing that. And then that they're not marketing products per se, but they're marketing their thoughts.
Right.
So like everybody's out there going, you know, like you always say, like when you start seeing people post, you know, like motivational quotes, you know that something bad's coming.
You usually think something bad's
But
happening.
everybody's doing it. And now I'm looking out there, man, and I'm seeing all these things. It's like, I always feel like, you know, art and life is cliche anyway, because, you know, very rarely are there truly unique new ideas in the world. And now we have everyone in the world taking other, you know, like just spinning other ideas and throwing them back at their new friends or whatever. And it just goes on and on and on. I think it's just, I guess all to say that we really need to step back. And, you know, even it's so weird because the other day I grayscaled my phone again, because if you make your your phone just grayscale, it's just so less inviting. You know, to go on a social media platform or whatever, because you look at it and you're like, damn, I don't even care about this. Nothing pops out of here. I don't even really want to look at it. And I've talked about it before, man. Just set your phone down and you'll start getting more energy back into your body. And it's just such a sapper, man. And I think that we just get trapped in these loops of the negativity or whatever. And I can't believe that like the compassion loop or syndrome that you mentioned, that is so crazy. Because
compassion fatigue. She was like, people are just tired of being compassionate because we felt like
everything's compassion. Oh, yeah. Pray for me today. You know, I stubbed my toe on the curb, and it's like prayers, whatever. And it's like, I think that does, man. It's like, wow. You can't even say suck it up anymore.
You can. And generally, like the two of us and the majority of our coaches, like, and you know me, I'm generally 99% of the time
supportive.
I am. I'm still supportive, but I'm a pat on the back kind of coach. I'm never the rah-rah. You know, if you've ever listened to this podcast, and it's not your first time, you know, if it's your first time, you're like, oh, this guy's full of shit. He's totally lying. But no, most of our people are like, yeah, I want a swift kick in the pants. I want you to yell at me and tell me I'm not doing good enough. I'm like, you're barking up the wrong tree. Like, that's just not me. I'm more of a holistic approach to all things in life. But at some point, you got to say enough is enough. And that's not with everyone, but it's sometimes with certain people. You have to just say, you know what? It really, honestly, it isn't about compassion. To me, it's about understanding, right? Is that sometimes we need a pat on the back, and sometimes we need a quick, swift kick in the pants. You know, as your parents would say, it's not my job to be your best buddy. It's my job to, know that you're loved, right? It's the same job as a coach. It's my job to look out for you, right? And it's my job to love you. That really is the same thing. Like, that's what being a parent is. Keep you safe and love you. And sometimes keeping people safe from themselves is by giving them that swift kick in the pants. It's like, listen, you can't keep doing this. We can't keep falling back in our same traps. You can't keep sitting on your butt. And this is everybody. Some people are out there just rocking it already. They always do it. They get out. But guess what? Those same people are the ones that are even keel. Even keel. The world isn't the greatest place on the planet, and it's never the worst. It just is what it is, because they're living their own life and their own reality. Days might not go very well. Some days, might go awesome, but they always stay steady, because in order to be successful, for the most part, you have to stay grounded. You can't be dramatically positive, because then usually you're blinded to things that might be ready to kind of fall apart. And you also can't be dramatically negative, about all things. Training is the same way, or racing. Oh, this is this. And it's like, what if this? And listen, I'm just not a fan of the what ifs. Like, it's just, you can't do it. It'll literally drive you insane. You have to have confidence and honestly just understand, what's the worst thing that's going to happen if you stay the course? What's the worst thing that's going to happen if you wake up tomorrow and get the job done, and you get up and go to work, and you set your alarm, you get up and you go work out and you do your training? What is the worst thing that can happen? Zero. Nothing. There was literally nothing that bad can happen. Now, if you stop training, or you you fall into that trap of being sedentary and not do anything, then you're going to let those days, then what happens is, like you said, you're going to continue to find reasons and excuses to just not do it. This is going to happen. Is this gonna... So what if it doesn't? Keep going. This is your health we are talking about. Not just physical health, but mental health. There is literally nothing bad that will happen by continually being resilient and, honestly, relentless in your pursuit of whatever it is that you want. Because, listen, we put way too much faith in other people and the things that happen around us in life. The person that's most likely going to decide the outcome for how happy you are, how positive you choose to be, the success in your life, what you're able to achieve, is you. Not anyone else. The only person you should be able to give a pat on the back to, or place the finger and the blame to, is what? You. You are responsible for making your own way. You are responsible for making your own success. You are responsible for being consistent. You are responsible for showing up and doing the work. It is on you. But what has happened is we've just become so enamored with blaming everyone. You want to blame Democrats, you want to blame Republicans, you want to blame government, you want to blame non-government, you want to blame COVID, you don't want to blame COVID. We all just want to blame everything. But what we don't want to do is just kind of wake up and look in the mirror and think, all right, I'm probably going to come in contact with like 5 or 6 people today, and those 5 or 6 people today really aren't going to have a direct effect on my life and how I choose to react to it. The one person that is, every single day, 365, every day of the week, every hour and every minute, is you. You are. You are going to decide to be successful or be a doormat. You're going to decide whether to just mail it in and get up and get the job done and let all the negativity and worry overcome any desire you have to be successful and to achieve the goals you set out to do, and just put it off. Just do it in 2023 or 2024, or maybe it won't ever happen. Well, guess what? Maybe it won't. But guess what? The likelihood is it will. And are you going to be ready and fit and physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy enough and in a positive place enough that's been resilient and tough enough to be like, you know what? When it does come, I'll be ready. Because sitting on your rear end and choosing to do nothing, or choosing to live in a problem exists, does nothing but to provide negative energy into your life. Like in honestly, this is the time where, again, talking about being even keel, people are on like, two ends of the spectrum. Worst year ever, man. January 5th. It's already like it's downhill. Everything's going down, man. Everything's going down. It's the worst thing. Here we go again. It's like, here we go again. What? I don't know about you, but last year was freaking awesome. I loved it. I had an unbelievable 2021. Yes, there were some bad things, but guess what? Bad things happen in life all the time. Like last 2 years don't even like register on the scale of bad years for me. They're like not even in the top 10. And that's how it is for a lot of people. Be even keel. But it's also on the other end, it's like, oh, best year ever, man. I'm rocking it this year. Like I'm crushing it. I'm like, no offense, dude. You're 5 days in. Like there is no new you, new year, new me syndrome. You got that one too. It's like, dude, we're 5 days in. Like, let's just kind of like ease into it. Like I said in the weekly email, I think on this last week's podcast was like, aim low to be successful. Right. And that's the thing is like, we have this, and what complements this, like the not do anything kind of mentality that we take on is also the aim as high as we possibly can mentality. And if we can't reach that height, then what's the point? Like, is there even a point? Yes. The point is to be productive. The point is to get up and show yourself that you're creating habits, you're creating behaviors, and you're making choices, right? Like I had an athlete this morning. It wasn't pretty, man, but you know what my goal was for today? Just to put my shoes on and get out the door. Hello, win, versus the athlete who's like, I just don't think I can hit my numbers today, so I kind of passed on it. What? No, get on your bike and pedal. Like do a zone 1, zone 2. It's about, listen, you become every small individual, even the most minute choices you make in life, cascade and kind of snowball into the decisions you're going to make in the big areas in life. If you can't make the small decisions that are just very minor that no one's going to know about, and you can't do them well, and you can't be consistent in those and make the right choices, how do you expect to make the big ones, right? You can't just, I'm not here, because you are your thoughts, okay? And those become your own reality in life. And what kind of reality do you want to live in? And listen, I'm speaking from experience. It's not like, most of you only know me because of this podcast, but before this podcast, and this, like, I was in some bad shit, like I've had plenty of, not that great times in years. But when I first started to find my way, first got sober and so much of my life was still unknown, it would have been very, very, very easy for me to just kind of sit back and wait to see, man, how's my life going to turn out? What's really going to happen? What's the point in working hard and taking promotions and being successful and doing things, because it could all be taken away. I could all just be lost. It could all just go away. But my sponsors always said, you work hard because that's going to become who you are. And so when bad things do happen, you'll become who you were trying to be, not just waiting for something to happen. And that is something that can be applied to training and in life, is that if you're being worried and being stagnant and paralyzed because you might not get to race or something bad might happen, that's preparing you to be on the defensive. At some point in life, things are going to go bad in areas that have nothing to do with what the media cycle goes on with. It might be your best friend dies or your parents get sick or, your kid, is really having a rough time. Like, those are the things that hit home for people, not the stuff that's, marketed on your favorite news channel or Instagram or Facebook. It's the stuff that hits home with you, the stuff that's personal to you. And if you want to be prepared to be in a resilient enough place and mentally tough and emotionally tough enough to withstand it, then you can't sit back every other day of the year waiting for it to happen, because you're just basically sitting on your ass, being in a defenseless position, getting weaker while the world is getting stronger and the obstacles and the things that might happen to you are gaining strength. Like another A analogy is like, my sponsor said, every time you go into a meeting, your disease is outside in the parking lot doing push-ups. That's why you go to the small things, because your disease continues to get stronger the longer you're alive, which is why, when most people relapse, it's very, 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 very bad. And that's just, it's something we all need to remember, right? And I think we all need kind of to pump the brakes a little bit on the year. Okay. It's January 5th, 5 days, really. For most of us, this is like the first day. For me, this is the first day of the year, because the last 4 or 5 days, I've been pretty much single parenting with my kid Velcro to my side, and I've got chafe on it, like my left side of my body, because that's how close Hayden has been in the last 5 days. So I'm at school today, I'm like, I feel like a new man. I feel like the year is just getting started. And there's so many good things to look forward to. And this is the last I'm going to say, but if you live in the world we live in and you're listening to this podcast, the truth of the matter is that life is pretty damn good for you compared to what it's like for 99% of the people on this planet. Mm-hmm. Stop complaining. Put a effing smile on your face. Be thankful and grateful you get to get up. Because honestly, another thing, if you listen to this podcast, you probably do triathlon or endurance sports. Consider yourself, be grateful to be healthy enough to even consider doing something like that. Mm-hmm. Not someone, which is the majority, especially of Americans, who are more obsessed with just sitting on their couch and consuming enormous amounts of food that are really just going to kill you.
Right. Or in a mental spot where you're like actually looking to go do something. Because sometimes that, when I seek out videos or stuff like that, even if I'm not there yet, at least your mind is in a spot where you want to kind of go do something, right? And that's all it is. And then the email we sent out the other day, I think there was something in there about train to the fitness that you're in right now.
Yes.
And I think so many times, because there's probably a lot of you out there, including me, that just did an Ironman maybe 3 months ago, and you can't, you haven't ridden a bike in a long time, or you haven't done a lot of stuff, and your mind is like, when I get on here, I remember where I was just 3 months ago,
right?
But now I can barely pedal for 30 minutes. Or whatever, but it's an unfortunate reality that you got to kind of step back and look at. Is like, okay, well that can come back, but right now I can't, because it's so, it's like shooting at the moon with everything, right? Because you just, I'm not the same. Well, yeah, you are. You can get it back, but I look at the analogy of this podcast. Really, it's like we don't get on here, thank God, with this idea that we can change the world. We've done 544 podcasts now, and we just do it. We just show up. Now that 90% of life is just showing up or whatever, and things start taking care of themselves. And that's what we do. If we came in here, with this idea that we really had to nail something and make an impact on everybody in the world, we probably would stop doing this. Because it'd be too much pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, man.
You know what I mean? But I think that's what we think like when we start getting back into training, if it's been a while or whatever, we just don't have what we used to have, or we think about like how difficult the journey's going to be. And it's like, I'm the same kind of way. I feel like a lot of this could be applied to me, but you just really have to, make it happen and just get on and trust the process that it'll come around. And, one day down the road in a month or two, you will probably have that same kind of ballpark with your power numbers or whatever the case is, but you got to start somewhere. And, I was reading an article the other day that says the actual New Year's Day, the New Year's for the world actually is on March 20th because it's a spring equinox or whatever.
Sweet. Got plenty of time.
Yeah. So you got plenty of time. But they always say though that there's, who knows? The ancient calendars supposedly had New Year's on March 20th, but it makes sense in the sense of, the spring is the rebirth, and everybody tries to change their life on January 1st, and it's really, you should still be in hibernation a little bit.
Depending on where you live, you look outside and you're like
that's why a lot of New Year's resolutions fail, and it makes sense. You have to ease into this.
I don't want to be rebirthed when I look outside and it's 30, gloomy and depressing.
It's hard.
That doesn't really, I'm not walking into the shiny light that is the hospital room of the earth. Like you said, March is like, give me some vitamin D. We were outside, Hayden and I were outside yesterday playing our version of street hockey, and our neighbor came out. She's like, this is my first day to, walk down the hill since my knee surgery. And I can say this because there's no way in heck my neighbor listens to our podcast, but always negative, always negative. Nothing comes out of the mouth that isn't negative. And I was like, even if it's cold though, the sunshine alone makes me appreciate the day. Like just the sunshine, I don't care how cold it is. I actually kind of like it when it's cold now, but it's the sunshine that makes the big difference versus the gloominess, right? And it's just like kind of the mode that it sets us in, and we put there's so much pressure in life. There's so many responsibilities. There's so many, and again, like so much of it is the fact that we willfully allow ourselves to be contacted. Like, I mean, I stopped yesterday in the middle of my run and I was like, you're an effing idiot. Like, I went out and I ran yesterday, middle of the day, and I put my phone in my back pocket, no music on, just have it on. And I forgot to turn my my do not disturb, which is almost always off on my watch. I got about 10 minutes in my run, then I had like 6 emails, like boom, 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 go through my watch and look down, I'm like, I went from 10 minutes of being present in the moment, enjoying running out in the cool, crisp weather to work. So I stopped. I was like, why are you an idiot? I was like, you're supposed to be, stop allowing yourself to be distracted. And that's what and I'll say this. It has become harder to not be distracted, right? Because there are so many opportunities, and I mean, your phone is death, really, but we rely on it, and so we still have, and we look at it all the time. Like, but it is death, right? There's just so many things that are bad that come from your phone. But again, I'm the same person. Like, I still, have my phone, I still use and do all these things. The same thing as social media and news and all the news cycle and your watches. Everything is connected now. So the amount of marketing and distractions that you can be, susceptible to and basically like let yourself have to kind of like fend off is enormous. But the best thing you can do is just, again, do the best you can to just cancel out and try to minimize the amount of distractions that you have to filter through and then decipher to do or to not do something, to be happy about something or not, to be positive or to be negative, to be anxious or not be anxious, to be worrisome or to be optimistic. Because at some point you just get tired of making decisions. You're like, I'm just going to kind of fall into the same trap as everybody. Oh yeah, me too. It's like, do you even know what this person said? It's like there's just so many, and I think people I don't think people have become necessarily lazy. I think people have just become so exhausted that they're tired of thinking and tired of doing things because life has become so, whatever reason, for a lot of people, just so enormous in so many ways. And I have a wonderful athlete worked there for like 3 or 4 years who oftentimes we have this very interesting email relationship where they will send me an email that's like super long and then I never respond because almost every single time about 20 minutes later, I get another one. You know what? I was so negative in that email. I sounded super crabby and super grumpy. I just need to get it together. Disregard. I'm like, I love that because that is ultimate self-awareness, right? Of like, you know what? Of recognizing you're in a funk and being like, why am I in a funk? Like, why is this? Like we always joke, like, you spill your cup of coffee in the morning, you're like, there goes the day. You're like, what? No, you have the entire rest of your day for things. Listen, life is a choice. Life is a choice. Everything you do or don't do is a choice. And it's up to you to do it or to not to do it. But you can't blame, you just stop blaming other people and other things in life for not doing something. At some point, you just have to make it work and find a way. And if you can do that, then you can settle in and be, honestly, you should be happy and grateful and honestly overjoyed with whatever the result is that you get, because it's not about the performance. It's about who you've become and the type of individual it's not about just choosing to naively be positive, or overly and blindly optimistic. It's just that you're becoming a person who you kind of let the stuff go, right? You just kind of like my R.A. Leo, who's like one of the greatest people on this planet, back when I was on the ranch, he always used to say, let the problems in the world roll off your back like water off a duck. And he was like, just let it go. He was like, just never let it fail you, because the best thing you can do is to go the opposite direction, which is, okay, things are getting bad. Instead of just kind of absorbing that and becoming it, I'm going to go the opposite direction, which I'm going to become more steadfast, more motivated, more committed. I'm going to throw down my anchor, and the seas and the waves of life might be crushing around you. And instead of just kind of like piloting in and going down to another shipwreck in life, you're thinking, you know what? No, I'm going to, whatever you do with sails, and then anchor down and be like, you know what? I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay the course, because we can always find reasons to not do things. Not do things. In fact, it's getting like applauded for some reason. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. It's your life. Do with it what you may. But what I just said was, it's your life, right? We are alive. We are living, and every day is not given to us. You have no idea what's going to happen and when things will go bad or when things will go great. but you have to be ready for it all. And it's just one of those things where I can't. This is a welfare check for most people. Honestly, it's like some people don't need this talk, and maybe 80% of you don't. But the 20% of you that do, this is kind of one of those moments where it's get up off the damn couch and go do something. Like get up. I mean, I know we told you to sit down and buckle up, but still, it's like, get up and like get moving and choose to do something today. And then it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be gigantic. It doesn't have to be, Strava, legend, worthy. Just take a effing walk. Right? It's like, just get out and do it. Like, I always love seeing people walking in the streets and like running real slow or run walking. So I'm like, man, they are getting after it. Like they are choosing to make an effort to make progress. And like what you said about this time of year, I honestly really like the kind of the feeling that you have, especially if you've been in the sport for a long time and you've maybe hopefully let yourself quote unquote go a little bit November, December. And, you put on a few pounds or you've, or lost a little bit of weight, too much weight, or you've, not done enough. And you're like, all right, I wasn't where, but like, isn't the fun part like getting better? So you can do it and how fun the process is to get better. Isn't that the fun part, right? So now you get to be like, I remember how far I've come, so I know I can do it again. And I know how much I love the process of getting better. All I got to do is just recognize where I am and move slowly in the direction of doing what I need to do, of getting the job done. Because at the end of the year or at the end of your, athlete life cycle, when you're done with racing, like you just want to be successful, right? It doesn't have to shoot the moon, right? It's like a conversation I had with Hayden today. Like when the kindergartners, they don't get scored, but they have this like sheet of like 12 goals for the day. And they get like this little sheet at the end of the day. It's like if a great day for him is 12 out of 12, like it's perfect. As in I was having a conversation with him when we were in the car drop-off line. I was like, all right, today's going to be tough because you haven't been to school in like 3 weeks. So all you guys will be bouncing off the walls. And like, I have all the sympathy and this respect in the world for teachers because God bless you. I said, what am I going to say? He says, I said, I need you to be a great listener and be respectful today and have fun. He said, I'm going to get 12 out of 12 today. I said, dude, the goal for every day is 7 because it's better than average. I said, do me a favor. Just go for 7 today. Aim low. Just go, because guess what? It's going to be really, really, really hard to go from not being in a classroom and not being at school for 3 weeks and kind of, like doing other things and not being in a schedule to all of a sudden being back in there. You're going to be wired. You're going to be pumped. Your attention span's going to be 0. I was like, don't go 12 for 12. It's probably going to be, if you get it, great, but aim for the goal, which is 7. Anything over that is gravy. And that is I was saying that, I was like, that is basically what you should tell every athlete this time of year. It's like, stop trying to be 12 out of 12, right? Aim low, aim 7 for 12. Like don't expect perfection when you've been coming from 2 months of maybe the most imperfected, structured training you've been in over the last year or two, right? It's like, don't aim so high. And then, and that's, again, I think the higher you aim, the higher you, the more times you go for 12 out of 12, the more likely you are to eventually regress to where you don't do anything and you get a 0 out of 12.
There it is. The power of yellow in training.
Exactly.
And when you were saying that about people out for a walk or just walk running or whatever, and I was like, okay, there's some yellows happening there. And I've always been a big fan of it because I feel like it shows intent, a good effort of trying to make it happen. And when you see, somebody who's, it seems like a lot of people, I'm sure you have athletes, and I do too, that are green solid most of the time. Mm-hmm. But then I have the ones that are red for a couple weeks and green for 3 weeks. And then it's sort of like, it's just that up and down thing. But because you want to get that, like you're saying, that 12 out of 12 thing. And I think, with our podcast again, we were always Monday, Thursday, and then it got to a point where it's like, okay, we haven't done it until today's Wednesday.
Yeah, today's Wednesday. Still getting
it
done.
I used to really get stressed out about that, but obviously now we're just kind of like, so what it is, man. We're just keep it going. We
still getting it done.
Still getting it done, just making it happen on a different day or whatever. And, I think that, you can't mess with nature really. And like you're saying about the sun, I think that's just interesting. It seems easier to do stuff when it's sunny because I feel like there must be some kind of like scientific thing about that, where the barometric pressure is a little bit lower and you feel lighter when it's sunny, or, the sky's wide open and things like that. But if it's raining, it just seems like a difficult. So I think that there's something about keeping that kind of thing in mind. And the other thing, like you're saying, how many people are like me in streaks where, you're kind of up, you're laying around at night on the couch and you're watching something on TV or whatever, and you're on their phone and you're kind of peeking at shit, it's like setting the tone for your bed, which is not necessarily good. It's like you're reinforcing those negative loop. And then you get up and you reach for your phone, and you kind of go right back into it, and you wonder why you can't break it. So it just always reminds me of what a really good solution for me usually is when I get up and I get a spiral notebook, and it's freehand, and I'll write out. This thing it's not my invention. It's from the Artist's Way, but it's the morning papers. When you write out 3 pages longhand, and it doesn't matter what the hell it is, and it may start with "This world sucks," "I suck," everything sucks, but by the end of the 3rd page, you kind of like that connection with your hand movement and your brain. You figure it's so weird, but I'm telling you, just try it, because if you got problems or things clouding up in your head, you work through them. And by the end of that 3rd page, usually I have like solutions,
some clarity
for subconscious problems that were bothering me. That subconscious is so weird, because I'm sure everybody feels this, and especially now, because you might have saw a tweet that like sticking in your head, but you can't remember it, but something's bothering you. Remember that, and this is weird because that's that Scientology stuff, but I remember reading that book, Dianetics, back in the day. You ever remember that? L. Ron Hubbard? No. It turned into a religion, and now it's like, it's gone overboard. But the basic premise of it, which is usually the case with most things, in the beginning, it's probably good until people get in there and start jacking it up and fucking everything up, right? But it's basically about having a clear conscience. And I think that's sort of what, therapy can do. I think that's what writing in a journal can do. And I think that's what writing in Training Peaks can do, or sending an email to your coach and then coming back 20 minutes later and say, all right, well, I don't need you to respond to that because I just cleared my head of it. And I think if we can do that more often ourselves, rather than going, oh, I got a question, I'm just going to put it on somebody else all the time. And we have the power to work through these things, and I think that's our responsibility.
Yeah, there is a gigantic void in this world of people having the willingness to just listen and not argue and not give because I honestly think that's why, we read some heavy things in Training Peaks and emails. Our athletes are very comfortable, probably because, you and I are both fairly vulnerable individuals and honest and open about our life, and it's not perfect. And so we hear and read and see a lot of rough stuff, stuff that really makes you sometimes, wonder, like the direction the world's, living into, going to an extent, so that's real and that's, severe and heavy for athletes, which are people we care about and then we love. And a lot of times, and like you said, a lot of times they just say, I just needed a place to say this and just have someone read it and just get it out. And there aren't many places to do that anymore, right? Mm-hmm. People aren't going to do it on Facebook because it's too, you feel too vulnerable, right? And you're afraid people are going to look at you or rip into you for doing something or not doing something, or that wouldn't happen at this. Or people are just so damn insensitive in the ways that they shouldn't be insensitive about, and not sensitive in the ways that they should. And so they really have nowhere to go, right? Nowhere to go, no one to talk to, no one to vent to, or you have the other extent, which you hear a lot, it's I can't say this to so-and-so because, other people have, and I think that's also a huge problem in the world, is that everyone assumes everyone's life is very, very terrible, right? Because of, whatever. And so they're like, I don't want to vent, and I don't want to say something because, other people have so many other problems than I do. I'm like, listen, your problem is the worst because it's you, right? It's like, and I think we like to minimize the severity of what we're going through in life or the obstacles that we have because, we always want to say, oh, well, someone else is worse. And what you're really doing is you're not showing sympathy for someone else. What you're doing is you're giving yourself permission to not deal with it, right? You're just like, other people's life is worse. I should just really get over it. And what you're really kind of giving yourself to opt out is, all right, what I really don't want to do is deal with this. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to kind of look at it straightforward. and I don't want to, do the things I need to do to probably get through this. I just kind of pretend, it's like denial 101. I just pretend like it didn't happen, and then these things add up, and that's what, Training Peaks and the emails and correspondence you get from athletes is it's vulnerability, and vulnerability is the ultimate power. We've had this discussion a lot over the last, 7-8 years. Vulnerability is power, because when you feel comfortable and confident enough to be vulnerable and open and honest about everything in your life, then people become inept in being able to hold power over you, because what are they going to say? What are they going to do that you haven't already freely given right to the world? It's the ultimate. Vulnerability is the ultimate power play. It's to be vulnerable in a way to where you can say what you're feeling or say what you're thinking truthfully, the great days and the bad days and the mediocre days, because then no one can hold power over you. And for you, it's the ultimate power, because you can allow yourself to at least closely resemble being the most authentic version of yourself, which is it's okay to be bummed, and it's okay to be, exhilarating, happy. Show that and feel it. It's not okay to just be fine all the time. Like, I'd rather be happy and then sad and then somewhere in between, and then just kind of undulate roller coaster the whole year versus just kind of being numbed and fine, right? Because you're not allowing yourself to feel emotion because you have to be that. And that's not what being resilient and being steadfast and moving forward isn't about, being fine and not having feelings. It's about making choices, right? It's about, having a great day, and instead of just kind of mailing it in, getting back to work, right? And not resting on your laurels. And it's the same thing of having a really bad day and like, I'm just not going to do things the rest of the week because it hasn't gone right today. It's about just doing the small things right day to day to day to day to day, because that's the stuff that adds up into creating who you are, as a person. And so like, this isn't a negative podcast for today. This isn't really a slap on the hand. This is one of those moments where, kind of put your arm around an athlete, a friend, a buddy, a coworker, or whatever it is, and you kind of look at them and like, let's get moving, right? It's not even really a kick in the pants. It might be for some of you. It's more of a, it's like pushing you out the door, right? And then putting your arm around it, like, all right, let's walk through this. Let's get moving, but let's get moving, right? And let's keep moving in that direction and not mail it in, because mail it in today leads to it means you being more likely to mail it in for the week and mail it in for the year. And the next thing you know, you ain't got no mail, right? Except for bills, which is the rest of us. And like we all like getting packages, especially like coffee, Hub 1603 Bacon Street, 104 Chattanooga, Tennessee 37408. Just don't mail it in, get back to work and listen, we got into this journey to figure out something about ourselves and to accomplish something. Staying the course, sticking with the journey, being a part of a process, staying committed, creating your own motivation, making the small choices makes you a different person. It creates a stronger individual. It allows you more opportunities. You become more healthy. Who gives a shit what happens to a race or may or may not happen to race in 8 months? If that is what you're hanging your hat on, then you're missing the point, right? Because what you're doing today affects directly the person you're going to be tomorrow. And if that choice is to do nothing and to be a doormat and to be on the defensive all the time, then you're more likely going to do that tomorrow, and it's going to be a more powerful version, right? Because like sitting one day leads to more sitting the next day and more sitting the next day. Monday and Tuesday go to crap. What do people say? I'm back at it tomorrow. I'm going to get this. Nope. They're like, I'll just start over next Monday, which now you've created a 7-day span of not doing anything versus a 2, which is going to be harder to break, right? And not only have you created the habit of starting over on a Monday, you have concreted the habit and the behavior of, it's okay to give up every week, right? And start over again. Now you've opened that door, that Pandora's box of start over, start over, start over. We don't get to start over. You were born a long time ago. All we have is this, right? We don't get that many start overs in life. You're still going to have to deal with things no matter how old you are and what you're going through. The same thing goes training. So wake up, get after it, do the things you need to do today, and then get up and do the same thing tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Well, March 20th is a start over. But anyway, one quick thing, because you said it, there's the power of vulnerability. I think that it can't be underestimated, because when we get on these casts and start talking things through, it just sort of helps out, right? Like we talk about it all the time, how this helps us as well. But if you got something going on, I think a lot of people will go out and, you know how like sometimes you go meet somebody for coffee or something, you talk, and you just feel better when you're done because you aired it out and you kind of like were open and honest with stuff because it's your friend. And I think those little things make sense but not to go there and bitch about stuff. You know what I mean? Go there, open up, let somebody hear what you're thinking. And it's like therapy, because when you go to a psychologist, they don't try to solve your problems. They try to help you solve your problems on your own.
Yeah, by talking it out.
Yeah, you talk it out. So that's why I'm such a big fan of writing it out and or talking it out. Just open up recording your phone. Just talk through your shit on your own. I mean, even that would help, I think. And then just delete it or burn it in your papers, whatever. Just get it out of your system. I think that's such a huge part of it. If today you don't feel like you're saying you got to wait till Monday now or whatever, just do. You don't feel like riding today, you don't feel like running today, go walk.
It's a win.
It's a win. Just like you're saying, man, just do whatever you're capable of mentally and physically right now, just to move it.
The most horrific place to be trapped is in your own mind.
Yeah, for sure.
It is not a place you live. It is not a planet. It is not a state. It is not a community. It's not a house. The scariest and worst place to be trapped is your mind. And that, for me, what you said, writing and talking through like the podcast or talking to people, having meaningful conversations is a way to kind of open up the floodgates. It is that vicious cycle that we get into with our mind. Same thing goes for, so like no one's ever in the history of coaching been like, man, I was having a rough day. I chose to go out for a bike and a run or swim, and they got worse.
Yeah, everything just compounded.
Yeah, compounded. They say, God, I needed that. God, it felt so good to release and kind of get out of your own head, right? Is do things that get you out of your own head, because that is where the hardest things in life, lie for most people, is right up in your brain.
Yeah. Think of your body as a biological system that you need to shift. You need to change the energy in it. I mean, that's an interesting way, I think, to look at why we get in moods and things like that, and that's why going out to do a little workout or moving your body does change things, because you're physically changing the energy and the electricity that goes through your body. So just do it. I mean, I could sit. I fall in those traps all the time. I think you do probably too a little bit. You're better at it than me a lot of times, but we all struggle with it. There's no perfection, and here's my vulnerability. I can't solve everybody's problems. I can listen and I can be here, and I keep trying the same thing. So but this podcast helped me.
This podcast helped me too. We hope it helped you with all the...
So sweet.
Some of you, I know, trying to end it on it with a little cherry on top of the mess we created. That's all I got, man. I am. Well, compassion is not about being soft. Yeah. Compassion's about, doing what's necessary. And I felt today that was necessary. I'm sure I'll talk about Thursday, we'll talk about how much we love you guys and how great life is, and
take today off,
chin up, and so exactly. Take today off. Today it's like, get your ass back in gear, which we need it. We need that reminder, right? And honestly, I feel confident.
Yeah, if that gets you out 5 days instead of 7, that's cool.
That's right, and I feel confident that we can have these podcasts because hopefully we have a mutual respect for our listeners and for us, because we're vulnerable and we love you guys. It's all out of love. Speaking of love us on our website, c26triathlon.com. It is our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. If you're still interested in any kind of club option, do it now or do it never. Act now. Club membership, club hub package, club condo package, Club Plus, you name it. Club La Vila, Panama City, and that's not on there, but it's club. Hey, click on that, obviously, and if you're interested in any kind of coaching help for the year, look up the roster. It's our website, c26triathlon.com. You can always follow us on Instagram as well, c26_triathlon. And if you have any questions specifically for Mike, he is at crushingiron@gmail.com. And if you need anything from me directly, I'm at c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, buddy. Have a great day.
Hey, you too, buddy.